In order to understand the characteristic of RISC-V architecture, then it is important to figure out the ecosystem in RISC-V architecture, and it will give us insight into some of the perspective or progress of RISC-V architecture in our industry. So RISC-V International is the name of RISC-V Foundation, consisting of a lot of members, and Qualcomm, NVIDIA, IBM, and NXP, and TSMC is the key primary members of RISC-V International, and then SK Hynix and a lot of the famous corporation has joined the RISC-V International. And if I organize all these kind of the companies into the 5 or 4 or 5 categorization, so we can have this kind of player that consists of RISC-V ecosystem. The first of and most important player in RISC-V ecosystem is chipset maker, and second player is open source community, just like Linux kernel and U-boot and Gen hypervisor. And then third player in RISC-V ecosystem is software distributor such as Ubuntu, Red Hat, Android. And then in the automotive sector, the car OEM is another important player. And last player in RISC-V ecosystem is manufacturing companies like and Samsung and another important some companies. So in this video, in this lecture, I'm going to point out the importance of RISC-V International and their role and responsibility which affect the RISC-V ecosystem. The RISC-V International is organization that leads and manages the RISC-V ecosystem. So nature of RISC-V architecture is open source instruction set architecture. So due to this nature of RISC-V architecture, and a lot of chipset maker can modify or customize its design. And for example, if they can design their own set of general purpose register in their own way, in some cases, some chipset maker can design their own chipset using different control and status register. So due to this kind of nature of RISC-V architecture, so they need some of their foundation or organization that where they can have convention or standard to develop the RISC-V architecture, and that organization is RISC-V International. So RISC-V International support development and growth of RISC-V by coordinating the effort among companies and university and individuals. And if you visit the website of RISC-V International, and you will find out that RISC-V International hold the several summit or conference that used to taking places in China or Santa Clara in America. So main job of RISC-V International is to hold the conference or summit where a lot of software engineers throughout the world can have opportunity to discuss the prospect or features of RISC-V architecture. And then, as I said, the key responsibility of RISC-V International is to create the standard to ensure that and RISC-V implementation are consistent and reliable. So many of the chipset makers wanted to customize some of the design of RISC-V architecture, but if many of the chips maker customize the RISC-V architecture, and then we do not have the standard to implement or look at, analyze RISC-V from software point of view. So this foundation creates standard just like current convention or the way to organize the general purpose registers. That kind of standard is created or discussed in the RISC-V International. And another important player in the RISC-V ecosystem is chips maker, and talking about chips maker, and it is one of the most important player that consists of RISC-V ecosystem, and this will be discussed in the next lecture.